Lagos, Nigeria, is struggling with overpopulation problems. There is widespread poverty, poor sanitation, pollution, and perhaps the worst traffic in the world. But as VOA Brian Padden reports, city officials in Lagos are surprisingly optimistic about the future.
For many in Nigeria's largest city, traffic congestion has become a symbol of the country's inability to keep up with its rapidly growing population. Traffic jams are a daily occurrence in Lagos, reducing productivity and increasing public frustration. Lagos' population currently is listed at over 14 million people, but some local officials estimate there are as many as 18 million. But Opeyemi Bamidele, the Lagos State Public Information Commissioner, says overpopulation is not the problem.
We do not believe that any nation can be overpopulated because we believe part of our strength too lies in our population, part of our strength lies in our diversity.
Bamidele says what is needed is good governance, providing traditional government services like picking up the trash and fixing roads and development. He says the recently developed Bus Rapid Transit System, or BRT, a dedicated traffic lane for buses, is the beginning of a long-term solution. But the city's most ambitious plan is to construct shopping and office complexes to attract foreign investment and transform Lagos into a modern metropolis. The only thing that stands in the way of development is the people who live on this land. One such project is underway here in the busy market section of Victoria Island. Lagos Finance Commissioner Rotimi Oyekan says the landowners, mostly market vendors, have been incorporated into development plans.
We're providing them an opportunity to stay where they are in a new environment. Now, that goes a long way in saying, yes, for every class we care. It's not just for the rich, it's also for the not so rich or the underprivileged.
We are not being forced.
Mustafa Atubajun and more than 40 families own the property being developed on Victoria Island. They have been temporarily relocated to another part of the city. He says the government has promised they will have shops in the new building, collect rent from the tenants, and own the developed property in 30 years. But he says the government also promised to provide a place to sell their goods during the transition. But that has not happened, and they are struggling to survive.
I want to bring this to your notice, that whatever the government has promised us, they should make sure they should fulfill it to the letter.
Finance Commissioner Oyekan says the government will fulfill its promises.
In Lagos, we believe in continuity. It's one of our cardinal principles. The people's faith in government must never be shaken, and we hope to carry that into the future.
While this development plan sounds too good to be true to Atubajun and other landowners, they see little choice but to go along. They say to survive, Lagos must create some order from the chaos of this overcrowded city. Brian Padden, VOA News, Lagos.
Now, for most of our audience out there, you've been used to seeing Brian Padden in the packages that he's done, but for today, he's actually here in the studio with us, and we're really happy to have you in the studio.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Now, obviously, you shot that, you were there, you saw with your own two eyes. What was your personal take on what you reported on in terms of the overpopulation in Nigeria?
Well, you saw a little bit of it in the story itself. There were two elements that really stand out for me, and one of them was how the government officials embrace the population issue, and you saw the commissioner who said they do not believe that overpopulation is possible. It's not a question of overpopulation, it's more a question of lack of infrastructure and development, and that's what they're working on. And while I give them great credit for their transparency and enthusiasm on this project, it seems overwhelming. And there is a saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And for the government to be able to turn that city around while it's still growing at such a tremendous rate seems like a very difficult challenge.
But at the same time, probably the officials there see models in other parts of the world, perhaps the Asian tigers, countries where we know population is a big issue, but they've managed to turn around and create beautiful functioning cities. Are government officials trying to fashion Lagos after any particular city in the East?
I did ask specifically that question of the finance commissioner. I asked him if they're trying to replicate the experience that Beijing has had in building up their city through development and through foreign investment and manufacturing. And he said, no, Beijing is not their model. Hong Kong is Nigeria's model, is Lagos' model. They seek to replicate the banking and shipping success that a country like Hong Kong has and to be that for all of West Africa.
Now, Brian, what is the cost to the natives of Nigeria? We heard the landowner in your piece saying that the government should keep its word. What are the concerns around that?
I think everyone in Nigeria is concerned with the promise. Everyone thinks it's a good idea in principle, and they commend the government for including the people in the process of development. Instead of in other parts of the world, they have just moved out the poor people to clear land for new development. In this case, the government is making a great effort to include the people. But will this promise last over time? And there is a great deal of
in fact, to create confidence, there has to be some evidence of making true of the word of the government. Is the projects in a kind of a progressive fashion such that people can see some development within the short term?
Yes, in the short term, some are seeing it. Within the next year, some of these new developments will open, and the market people who've been moved out will be moved back in. And hopefully they'll see that as a sign of confidence. Now, will they be able to own this property 30 years from now? Who knows?
Well, thank you very much. That's
Thank you,
Brian
Brian.
Padden,
good to have you here.
Thank you.
Voice of America. Thanks a lot.